Hi guys, I'm back again. Buffett. Azanian politics is back, Buffett. So the story continues. You remember that Ramaphosa and his delegates and Rupert and the other ones were not official government people went to the White House to try and mingle relationship between South Africa and the United States for them for trading and other issues and for funding. I don't know what funding because South Africa is rich with minerals, but for funding and other stuff. So the story here written by me, Nick Martin, says, why is Donald Trump so afraid of BRICS? Because there's battle between Trump and China in terms of alignment. They want influence in terms of influence. So the story goes, Trump sees BRICS, whose leaders held their annual summit in Brazil, as a threat to US power. You remember, but let me continue. US President Donald Trump is doubling down against the BRICS bloc of fast-growing economies, including Brazil, Russia, India, China, and South Africa, warning that their push to undermine the US dollar dominance threatens America's economic supremacy. They don't even hide it. They want America to remain supreme to every other country. Just as BRICS leaders convened in Rio de Janeiro for their annual summit, Trump on Sunday vowed to slap an additional 10% tariffs on any nation backing the group's anti-American policies, piling pressure on top of existing and threatened trade levies. The Trump administration 90-day pause on higher tariffs is set to expire Wednesday, and letters have been sent to inform dozens of countries of their new US import levy, according to the White House. So they're being serious about this issue now. They've been postponing it. While his latest threat is much lower than the 100% tariffs promised in January on countries that play games with the dollar, Trump remains adamant about the need to safeguard the world's reserve currency. Over the past decade, BRICS has swelled from 4 to 10 members, including Indonesia, which joined in January. Saudi Arabia is listed as a member but has yet to confirm its status. The bloc also has 9 partner countries, while dozens of others are lining up to join. So BRICS is growing in influence, and countries want to join and want to be part of it. People are tired of the dominance of the United States. They're very tired because it seems like the United States has double standards. Trump is the reason to worry. Alicia Dacio, the bloc BRICS, which touted as China's alternative to the G7 group of 7 wealthy nations, now represent a quarter of the global economy and almost half of the world's population. That's a lot of influence, even though it doesn't match the United States, but still, it's growing in influence and doesn't stop. Trump is a reason to worry. Alicia Garcia Herrero, a senior fellow at the Brussels-based think tank Bruegel, told DW, the BRICS is very clearly anti-Western. Part of its mantra is to change the global order, which is something to be looked forward to. Dollar diversification, but no real alternative. BRICS has recently intensified efforts to reduce reliance on the dollar by promoting trade in local currencies among members. Stung by the Western sanctions and tariffs, Russia and China are spearheading the so-called de-dollarization move, settling energy deals in rubles and yuan. India, meanwhile, has paid for cheap Russian oil since 2023 in yuan, rubles, and even the United Arab Emirates dirham. Grander ambitions like a gold-backed common currency, dubbed the unit, have so far stalled amid internal rifts between powerful BRICS members. India, wary of the dominance of China's yuan, has rejected the plan, while 2025 summit host Brazil also wants to prioritize local currency trade and as a unified currency. So you can see now these people, they don't know how to. It's like in South Africa, when we want our native languages to be spoken, we cannot agree which language we should use. Zulu, Xhosa, Sotho, which one should be the official language? Even here in Africa, there are so many languages. If we want to get rid of colonial language like French, English, and other European languages, which language will we choose to communicate with? So it will be the problem. Even here now, these countries are aware of each other. of using each other's currency. It would be difficult, guys. It would be very difficult to handle these things. India, together with Brazil, is trying to balance the anti-Western messaging from BRICS, which is dominated by China and Russia, said Gracio Herrero, who is also chief economist Asia Pacific at French investment bank Netflix. Out of the roughly 83 trillion in global dollars in global trade conducted in 2024, intra-BRICS trade made up just 3% or around 1 trillion according to BRICS website. The majority of world trade is still settled in dollars and their traditional currencies. Economic Herbert Poneshi told DW, "It will take a lot to dethrone that." Yeah, a lot, I'm telling you. I agree with this economist. The US currency is unused in 90% of global transactions and 59% of foreign exchange reserve, prompting several economists to argue that de-dollarization remains a distant threat. They believe that any BRICS alternative will be hampered by the yuan's capital controls, the ruble's volatile, and some members' reluctance to abandon the greenback. BRICS growing fast but making little progress, with Egypt, Ethiopia, Iran, the United States, Arab Emirates, and Indonesia recently joining a nearly huge partner or affiliate nations like Algeria and Malaysia in tow. BRICS is clearly in a rapid growth path. But some nations, like the United Arab Emirates, they friends with the US, so some nations made their danger to spy on this thing or to make this thing collapse. So they need to be aware of the nations that they accept. Those fearful of Western sanctions like Iran and Russia are counting on BRICS to help shield their economies through BRICS Pay and BRICS Bridge, planned alternative to the Western payment messaging system SWIFT. Others, including Ethiopia and Egypt, seek development financial free of the political strings often tied to Western aid. But Trump's latest threat could make them think twice. Suddenly, being part of BRICS has a cost, Russia Herrero told DW. This will probably discourage some, particularly poorer countries, from joining. Hey, guys, the United States is too powerful. I mean, the United States is very, very rich, guys. I'm telling you, they're not projecting their riches, they are. So they want to maintain that till eternity. Yet, despite its growing membership and lofty promises, BRICS has struggled to translate ambition into action. The bloc lacks institutional cohesion and suffers from deep geopolitical rifts, most notably between India and China. So, Yabona Judah. The enemy of my enemy is my friend. Efforts to build alternative financial institutions have also been cautioned and limited in scope. The new development bank, touted as rival of the World Bank, has so far approved $39 billion in loans versus the World Bank $1 trillion plus. BRICS leaders are quickly realizing that expansion doesn't equal influence. Without clear strategic vision, stronger coordination, and tangible alternatives, some watchers believe the bloc risks becoming a symbol club rather than a transformative force. That's why I'm saying they need to be aware of nations that they accept in. They need to be very aware. Ideological differences and hard to reconcile. Despite their many differences, BRICS leaders did take a strong stance on Trump's tariffs during the Brazil summit. In a declaration published Monday, June 7, the leaders criticized unilateral sanctions and protectionist tariffs without naming Trump directly. The bloc warned that such measures skew global trade and violate WTO rules. Expanding from a mostly economic forum, the leaders emphasized cooperation on artificial intelligence governance, climate change, global health, while also denouncing global conflicts. BRICS leaders said last month attacks on Iran were a violation of international law without mentioning the US or Israel. They also reaffirmed support for Palestinian statehood and denounced the use of starvation as a weapon in Gaza. The declaration avoided criticizing Russia directly, reflecting a cautious approach due to Russia membership, but it did condemn Ukraine's strikes on Russian infrastructure and called for a sustainable peace settlement. The BRICS leaders also reaffirmed their commitment to multilateralism, international law, and reforms to the United Nations Security Council, including permanent seats for Brazil, India, and an African nation. That is the end of the article, Buffett. So tell me, what do you think, Buffett? Do you think there's a future for BRICS, or BRICS is just a boys club, another boys club, or there's a future for it to become influential and have a positive impact on nations that are participating in it? Please drop down below, Buffett, to comment, like, subscribe, Buffett. Let us go to the channel Azanian Politics. This is your boy, Simtembi Laumbilan. See you in the next video.